Hiya, I'm Julian Alvarado. I'm the writer, director, producer, and a bunch of other things of The Bunny, and this is the director's commentary for the film. Hope you enjoy. So, for this opening scene, I really wanted to start it in the same way that David Fincher started Gone Girl. To me, there was just something that seemed really engaging, and it hooked me from the very beginning. Just hearing this narration by Ben Affleck and just seeing all these shots, this B-roll, this coverage of the town Amy and Nick live at, and I wanted to experiment with something like that, that kind of idea, and start the film with B-roll of the school, where a lot of the film takes place in, and the way the school was lit at night, like this is all natural lighting. It just felt like something was lurking in the shadows, and the bunny is one of those characters that lurks in the shadows, like in this moment right here where his silhouette just comes into frame. And I really wanted the people to immediately be like, okay, what is going on? Like the scene starts out like, okay, it's not nighttime yet, but it's getting dark. And then as the scene progresses, we see how it's getting darker and darker. And then there's a lot of shadows, some warm light coming through. And, it looks like someone is hiding there. Someone could come out of nowhere and attack you. And that's the way I wanted to introduce the bunny. And I wanted it to keep him secret. I didn't want to show his mask yet. I didn't want to show his whole outfit. I always knew from the beginning that I wanted to have a grand reveal for that. So that was my intention for making the scene like that. And the main focus of this film, it's of course Mateo and Preston. The film is called The Bunny, and I knew the movie was gonna be about them. Like even when I got the idea for the bunny character, even when I knew what I wanted to do with him, I just felt like it. He needed to be more of a side character. He's still the antagonist. He's still a villain. He is a force of nature. But Mateo and Preston, they're the main forces of the film. They are the characters that you want to root for, or you want to like give the thumbs down for. They always from the very beginning, they had a special place in my heart because when I write, I make sure to put a little bit of myself in in the characters that I write. I make sure that I use screenwriting as therapy in a way, and I just wanted them to represent a side of myself that I was struggling with at the time, and that to this day I even struggle with. Like Mateo shows this side that okay, he overthinks a lot. He is too scared to take these jobs because he fears that this might happen or this might happen, and then a lot of thoughts go through his mind, and it leads to him having a worse life. And Preston represents this side that he wants to act, he wants to do something, and sometimes it's something that is terrible. And it's just these sides of wanting these things but not being able to obtain them, or if you do obtain them, you end up ruining your life. And that is the main message. Well, one of the many messages of the film is that you you have all these choices, but you never know if it's gonna end up being the right choice or the wrong choice. For a moment it may seem like the right choice, but it could be very catastrophic, and the wrong choice could end up being the right choice. But there's always a sense of tragedy. And that shot of the bunny watching them through the window, it was something that it just felt so right in the moment. Like I knew I wanted to have the bunny watching them from outside, but we got the idea on set where we just decided to originally I wanted to show the bunny from inside, but we just shot it outside, and yeah, it just looks so good. And I love the way the camera backs out, and then we see the white suit. Like people know, okay, this is the bunny, but we don't see his mask just yet. We see like a side profile, but we never show the full side. Like we're still keeping the suspense, and I really, really wanted that suspense. It just felt so special. And again, with like having the film start with Mateo and Preston, Like I wanted the people to know who these characters are. Like the, these are Mateo's personality traits, and these are Preston's. And I I always knew that I wanted them to be like an old married couple. You know, they argue a lot, but you can still see the love they have for each other. That's why that opening scene is like them arguing. You know, Mateo a little bit nervous, like, dude, let's get the hell out of here. And then he calls him a pussy boy, and you know, then that argument kind of leading to Preston encouraging Mateo and giving him the hope that he needs, and that's why I wanted those close-ups during that previous scene. I wanted to show that these guys are close to each other, that they have some love for each other, and they care about each other, and that was very special to me from the very beginning to show that yeah, they have problems, but you know they're willing to work through them, you know, like a couple. And that was something that I like to do with a lot of characters that I write. And you know, introducing Dale like this in a very mysterious villainous way, almost a little cartoonish of him just showing up out of nowhere like he's Batman. I don't know, to me it just felt funny, and it just felt like the right way to introduce the character. And this shot right here, I was inspired by the shot from Ali and I were talking about the Batman. This shot of the Batman when, oh wait, I love the reveal of the title card. That is such an amazing reveal. Personally, you know, I think we cooked there. But you know, I was inspired by the shot of when the Riddler gets arrested, and then the way the scene ends with the camera going up and looking at his coffee mug or teacup or whatever the fuck, right? Looking at it from above, and then we see the question mark, and you just like, you know, it's the Riddler's coffee. And I wanted to do that for the bunny cutout. We see the bunny cutout, like it didn't feel like the appropriate time to show the bunny in his full getup, but you know that was a way to hint at the bunny. We see his feet, and you know, we see him walk up to the bunny cutout, and then boom, title card. Like yeah, we know this is a bunny. It felt the appropriate time to reveal the title card, and I remember shooting that, and you know it took us like a few takes, but you know it was really a team effort for that particular shot, and that was actually a reshoot. The original shot that we got, it wasn't very good. It was rushed, but I wanted to get it right, and when we did get it right, I was really proud, and I just really enjoyed it. And this scene in detention, um, this was shot on two separate days. All the stuff with Alan and Chase, that was shot on one day. It was before we shot the stuff with Logan, Preston, and Cedric. And that was because Logan and Preston and even Cedric, they were busy on a school play, and we only had Alan for a limited time, so we decided to shoot all the Alan scenes during September and October. And you know, I remember when I was putting it together, like it just didn't seem like these were shot on separate days. To me, it just feels like it was shot on the same day. So you know, I'm still surprised by the way it worked out. I think it feels very natural. And you know, at first I wasn't convinced by the way the scene looked, but you know, now that I'm looking back at it, like I love how gloomy this classroom feels like. It just feels very it just feels like yeah, these kids are here to suffer, but at the same time, you know, you have like people using their phones in the backgrounds. um but you know they're still stuck here. There's no way of escaping that. And I don't know, I just love the way that this turned out. And you know, even though the audio wasn't the greatest, I do like all these performances. Just I feel like this was way after we shot the initial, like Preston's first scenes, and it was this scene right here that you know I feel like, well, it was scenes before this one, but this scene, like you know, Preston feels so much like the Mateo I envisioned. He sounds like the Mateo I envisioned, and he adds his own twist to it. And Cedric is fantastic in the role. I couldn't imagine anyone else being Scott, but more on that later. And right here, Mr. Staunton, Mr. Staunton, he gets a, a brief mention a few earlier on, and he wasn't meant to be a huge character, but I during my junior and senior years of high school, I had this history class, and the teacher, let's just say, the teacher wasn't the greatest, and it was an insufferable class. I really hated that class, and I really disliked the teacher so much that I wrote Mr. Staunton as a history teacher. She was supposed to be a female, but I just didn't think the teacher that she was inspired by would really approve of us shooting a scene like that in her classroom with her as the actress. And I had a pretty great bond with the English teacher that played by John Parker over here. So I decided to change the gender to a guy and just have it be in an English classroom instead. But just a little fun fact, little fun trivia that was supposed to be a history teacher teaching these kids boring shit in a very boring manner. So yeah, and this scene right here of Logan arguing with these kids, like um, I really wanted to show that yeah, people talk shit about them because originally it was all just like, hey, people talk shit about us. Like in the first draft, I had like them like just giving a bunch of exposition, but we never really see that play out. Like the original draft was only 60 pages long. It really wasn't that long. But when I got to writing the second draft and every draft afterwards, the script kept getting longer because I wanted to show more things, and I really wanted to show these two characters, very minor characters. They're really not that big, but I wanted to show that yeah, these people they see them, but they see Mateo and Preston, but they don't see them in the way that most people would like to be seen. Just in this negative light, they're they're a bunch of losers that really look and behave like they're not ever going to accomplish anything with their lives. They are destined for failure, and it's because of the choices that they make. It's because of their fears, because of their wants. They're very toxic wants, and it just very much mirrored what I was going through in my life. And oddly enough, it's something that has really gotten worse. And there's many things in this film that seem very ahead of their time for me because some things in here like they they're basically mirrors to what is going on in my life currently. And again, it's a very therapeutic way of writing for me to just basically put what is going on in my personal life and just write some ridiculous but sometimes very personal story about it. And right here, I love the way Preston delivers these lines. It's just like he really seems like, okay, this is fucking stupid. There's no way our teacher is doing this. This is some Walter White shit. And Preston's the one who's like, I mean, like Logan, sucks having characters with the same names. But Logan is just like, no, no, bro, this is serious. This is serious. Like they're gonna hunt you. Like this is some real business. I just love the back and forth. I write a lot. My dialogue is very long, and I got a lot of complaints like, "Oh, Julian, you write too many monologues." But it's just the monologues feel conversations feel real. Like they make the conversations feel real, and when good actors like Logan and Preston are delivering those lines, it just feels very very fun to watch. And I really love the way they portray these characters. But again, more on that later on because there are some scenes where I'm just like really in love with the way they brought these characters to life. Like now it's to the point where if I go back and read the original scripts, like I don't imagine these people I saw before. Like I just see Logan and Preston and I hear Logan and Preston, and that is a really big accomplishment. And the same thing goes for Alan over here because Alan, his work as Dale is just fantastic. You know, I remember like struggling, like trying to find someone who could play Dale because the original person that um, I wanted to play Dale, it was Brandon Hill. For anyone who doesn't know anything about Encore Productions, just look up Hyde, like Jekyll and Hyde, Hyde by Crackbat Studios, and in that film, the teacher in that film was played by Brandon Hill, and that was our acting teacher, and I wanted him to play Mr. Dale, but he ended up leaving at the end of the school year before this film was made, and so it was a struggle trying to find someone who could play Dale. But I eventually Alan ended up getting recommended, and I went and I texted Alan. I told him about my idea, and Alan read the script, and he was on board. And I just remember, I really have vivid memories of every shooting day, and Alan just killed it. He just gave Dale this personality that, it, again, it was just amazing. Like I wish I had the right words to explain how much I love it. And that shot of Lene injecting herself with the monarch, we used makeup for that. I remember like we were like struggling trying to like find a way to make that look like very disgusting. And when we pulled it off, when we had the camera screen projecting on the TV, and it just, it looked so gross. It looked so gross. It may not look gross now, but like that moment of like us trying to replicate like someone injecting themselves and all this purple, very glowy liquid going through their veins. It's just the execution was just really good, and yeah, I was really, that was one of my proudest moments on set. And this scene was also, this scene is very serious. It has comedic undertones, but it was also fucking hilarious to shoot. For anyone who's seen the blooper reel, like we could not stop laughing. It was just it was a very fun shoot day, and actually shoot days, because that scene took us a long time to film. Okay, not a long time, but it took us like 2 weeks to film, because there were some complicated shots, the blocking, the camera movement, the lighting especially, and of course there were moments where there was drama on set because of, I won't say names, but a certain person who operated our slate. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say, or I'll get hit with a defamation suit or something. I don't know. Maybe get another Google Docs of you know, someone begging me to make an apology. Very fun stuff. Maybe I'll explain that story for those who don't know, sometime in the future, maybe 20 years from now. This moment right here, this was all improvised. There were some lines where I told them, okay, keep this. Like some lines that were from the script, like this is a very important line, so remember to keep that. But everything else was improvised because we spent majority of this day shooting other scenes, and those other scenes were very very dialogue heavy. And the thing that sucks is that we ended up not using them in the film. Like we ended up cutting them out, but it took us the whole day. I didn't really mean the whole day. So this was like our last hour of shooting, and the food that they're eating in this scene was actually the lunch they had. So yeah, I just told them, like, I gave them the I we ran through the scene. I gave them the gist of it. I told them like from what conversation topic to start from, and then what to jump to, and then the conclusion of this scene, the conclusion of their conversation. uh, I let them improvise. The first take that we got, it was ridiculous because they went on about the cookies for like 3 whole minutes. They would not shut up about that. Like the scene wasn't progressing at all. So I remember like Carson, my DP, and we just ended up bursting out into laughter, and we ended up cutting like, guys, why are you still talking about the cookies? Like, move on. But this was actually the second take, at least the first shot. The first shot of this scene, if the reason it goes on for so long is because we know we got it all in one take. We really wanted to get this scene done, and I really think it turned out really well. And I just love the way that Logan basically gets out of his chair with the phone, and then Preston goes behind him, and then he stamps the phone back into Preston's chest, and and then the way the camera just follows it. Like, I remember giving Carson instructions to, if they end up making any movements, just follow them, and it just felt very natural. And I just love it, and I just love the way that this scene looks as well. For some scenes we did use the lights. For some scenes we used natural lighting. Whatever lighting we had that was on the actual set, on the actual location, because we're poor, we don't have the money. But with color grading, it ended up looking really well for some scenes, a majority of the scenes. And I love that transition, just simple to solve. And then seeing Cedric walk in, and oddly enough, this really really short scene, it had it had a bunch of versions of it. We ended up removing like basically 3 shots, I think, because even though they were good shots, well, they just weren't executed well. And it's one of those things. There's many instances in this film where I did go through the main thing directors go through, and that is killing your darlings, taking out a shot that you love, just to help the film, because even though it's good, it doesn't really benefit the film. It really brings it down. So that was a problem with that scene. And the scene that is shown in the film is a completely different version from the one that we originally had. This scene in the hallway is actually the first scene we shot with Cedric, and this scene in and of itself is a reshoot, because the first time we attempted to shoot this scene, it just wasn't very good, and we forgot to shoot some things. So when we came back, like, we just got it done quick. Like, it was so amazing. Like, the first time we tried shooting it, complete disaster. Second time, everyone was locked in. Everyone knew what they were doing, and I was giving Cedric instructions. I was giving everyone else direction, and everyone just ended up doing so well. And Chase is amazing as Aaron. He was Aaron for the table read, and as soon as I heard his voice in that table read, like, yeah, I wanted him to be Aaron. There was no one else who could possibly be Aaron. Just the way he says shit, it just felt very much like the Aaron I envisioned. And Cedric, I love him as Scott. I really do. I again, Scott was another character that originally I had someone else in mind to play Scott, and it was actually Alan's brother, Eric Moctezuma, the guy who was basically my mentor for different films. One of them being In Your Audience by the three Moctezuma brothers. And so when I was writing Scott, I was just envisioning Eric as the character, so I kind of gave him some of Eric's personality traits. But s- he graduated, so I didn't have access to him. I didn't want him to come to school every other day to shoot with us, because I felt like I would be bothering him, and he had a job and stuff. And I felt like I was already bothering Alan. But when Cedric took the role, he he got my message. I was telling him about Scott, and he got what I was trying to say. And like every good actor ever, they took what I said, added their own little spin to it, added what they believed this character would be like. And the version that we ended up getting is someone, very confident, very cocky, very, very fuck you kind of guy. Um, he has this swag that Cedric just has naturally, and Cedric just became the character. He became Scott Keoghan, to the point that I was rewriting a scene, and I could not stop hearing Cedric. Like, I just imagined Cedric. I heard Cedric's voice. It's like I could not imagine the original guy. Like, it was just Cedric. Cedric took this character, made him his own, made him stand out, and I loved him so much that I was actually sad when we had to kill him off. I was really heartbroken, um, and I think that's a really, it's something very notable. It's a huge accomplishment, and I could not be happier that Cedric took on this role. Like, again, I just felt so bad that the shoot went on for so long, and that I was bothering Cedric. 'Cause Cedric is a very popular guy, you know. It just I just felt like I was being a terrible director because some scenes were really hard to shoot. Sometimes Cedric was just standing there in the cold, and I saw him shivering. And sometimes we were doing nothing because we were setting up a shot, or we were having problems on set, or we had to delay something. But Cedric was always on board. Like, he always told us, like, no, 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 we can get this done. We can get this done. And when we said action, it's just Cedric was just he was very passionate about it, and he complimented um, my direction and my script many times. I could not be happier that I was working with someone who was just an amazing person to be around. And that's the thing, Cedric is not just an amazing actor, but he is also just a great person. Like, the reason Cedric is popular is because he is someone that you can talk to one time and they can have such a huge impact on you, and and he's a really funny guy too. I mean, the first shot of this scene right here in the garage is just, it took us 7 takes, probably more than that, because Cedric kept messing up, and there was just, he was saying a lot of funny things, and it's like, okay, okay, this is okay, this is a little um a little complicated, because like we're trying to get this done, but at the same time it's the funniest thing in the world. And but back on topic, again, keeping the bunny hidden, not showing his face yet, all intentional. And I just love, I love this shot. And this is the first time where, like, we see the close up of his eyes, and it won't be the last. I always wanted um, the camera to focus on the bunny's eyes. Sometimes we see like pure black holes, kind of like Michael Myers, but for certain shots, certain scenes, I wanted to focus on those eyes. And again, Matt Reeves, the Batman, is a huge inspiration for this film. I mean, it was inspired me when the film wasn't even out yet. Like, we only had like the I started writing before the second trailer, so it was only the DC fandom trailer, but that trailer had a huge effect on me. I was in such a huge Batman mood. I mean, the whole world of the bunny was inspired by the world of the Batman. Some things from the Penguin were taken and given to the bunny, and some things from Carmine Falcone too. So, just being inspired by Batman, it added so much. And just seeing those bits of the trailer of the Batman, and just seeing Robert Pattinson's performance, and seeing the way he acts with his eyes. And after the film had come out, and after I had seen Robert Pattinson just kill it as this iconic character, okay, yeah, I I knew that I wanted Brayden, who was playing the bunny, like, I wanted this huge focus on his eyes too. Like, Brayden, the reason I casted him as the bunny was because of three reasons. Three reasons. That was his voice. His voice is very, it's unlike any other voice I've ever heard. To me, like when I hear Braden's voice, it's just like this sounds like an iconic character's voice. Like this is the voice that I need. Like I originally heard Vincent D'Onofrio with his Kingpin voice, playing the character. But Braden just has this voice that obviously is very different, but it just feels like the type of voice a character like the bunny would have. I don't know how to explain it. It's like when my sister and I used to play with our stuffed animals, and we called it we used these voices that were we call them voz de peluche, which means stuffed animal voice. Is like, what voice does a stuffed animal have? But like we just knew what it meant, right? And that's the same thing for the bunnies. Like, what voice would a character like the bunny have? Like, bunnies don't talk, but it's just hearing Braden. It's just like that is the voice. And his body movement too is just the way that he moves, the way that he walks, like the way he has his arms behind him. It's like I loved it. I just really loved it. And of course, the eyes. Brayden has very, very dreamy eyes, but also very haunting eyes. And it just worked so well, and especially when they're covered by that makeup, when they're covered in darkness, like they are sticking out. Like, you see these eyes, and when he expands them, like you get the sense that he is a dangerous guy, even if he's dressed, like an animal. He's just someone that you should not mess with. And this scene right here of them talking to Scott about the job offer. This was also a very hard, very complicated scene to shoot. It's just we were. This was during the first month of shooting, and we were just still trying to get used to these characters, get used to this type of film, because all the previous films, they weren't as big as this one. They weren't as you know driven by so much dialogue, so many shots, and this was still during the time where people were like, "Oh, Julian, why do you have so many shots, Julian? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that?" It's like, guys, you don't see the vision. You don't see the vision. Just trust the process. So because of that. That resulted in a lot of mistakes, and a lot of mistakes on my part too. Like, just watching this scene, like, yeah, I like the way it turned out, but I feel like I could have done better. And I think back on the time, like on our first few months shooting, like I could have done so much better as a director. But that is a very beautiful thing. I'm not trying to like make myself, just tell myself all these terrible things to make myself feel bad, but it's more as a reflection. Like, I did learn from this film. Like, I know what I could have done better with this scene and so many other scenes, and I know what I could have said in that moment. Things that could have benefited us. And it's just so many scenes, and this one's such a big one, even though it seems small, even though they're just talking about like, oh, should we go to the bunny's house, should we not, it's just it's something very small, it's a very minuscule scene, but you do learn a lot from stuff like this. And I think every filmmaker, as much as they may not like their earlier work, they should rewatch it from time to time and be like, oh my god, I did this, I could have done that, but I'm doing better now, or at least I can try to be better. I know when I get on my next film set, I am going to do so much better. I will take these lessons and implement them on the next shoot. And that's really what sticks out um, from this scene, even though people may get another message, because obviously they weren't on set, they weren't directing this movie. But it's just my message to other filmmakers out there. Uh, just rewatch your work. As much as you may hate it, rewatch it, because you live and learn. Very classic saying. It's true. And this scene right here, this scene, I love it. I love the lamp. That lamp that you see in every single movie ever, especially noirs. This was very inspired by noir film, and just that green light just emitting. Well, it's emitting from a light in the background, but it looks like it's emitting from the lamp, and I just love that chemical feeling, like a drug. And I just love the appearance of the bunny and the sound effect I used. Again, Batman reference, but it was taken from the Gotham series finale when Batman appears in front of the Joker, and you get that sound effect. It's like something creeping in, and that's how I wanted the bunny to feel. And also, it served as a nice way to like explain why we see the shadow of the bunny showing up. Like originally, I wanted a camera just to push in, then see Alan's reaction, then back out, and then we see the bunny. We were never supposed to see the shadow, but we ended up getting it, and I just thought, what if we had this little piece of sound design? Have something that seemed very, very creepy, very, very. What would be the word? Just something terrifying, something that could make you shiver, something that could give you goosebumps. And it's always a goal. Well, I feel like for everyone that writes antagonists, that writes villains, to make them scary, to make people feel like, okay, these guys are a serious deal. And I feel like um, well, I don't know. It's really subjective. For some scenes, I did feel like I accomplished that. The bunny really does stand out with his limited amount of screen time. But again, this is a Mateo and Preston driven film, and this scene right here, I I love the way this scene turned out as well. Um, Also took us a long time to shoot. It took us several days because there were some scenes in the house that they were like we were like really shooting high. It's like, okay, we need to make sure these scenes are the best as they can possibly be. I mean, this environment is just the the warmth of it. It's very deceitful. It's very deceitful because the bunny is not a welcoming. He's not a guy that emits warmth. He emits cold. But I wanted this moment to show us that the bunny's sinister nature is his warmth. And seeing the little cameo by me, a little cameo by me. Since the very beginning, I knew I wanted the whimpering detective over here to be played by me. It gives me a little excuse to scream in front of a microphone. And I've always had this stupid little dream of getting killed in a movie. I don't know. It just seems like a cool thing to get killed in a movie. But yeah, and it just I remember writing it. I'm like, I'm cooking. I'm cooking. Like introducing the bunny finally, like the way the camera pans up, and then we finally see the mask. It's just like we see him kill someone like we saw stalking before. We get these little lines by Mateo, like, oh, you're making him sound like he's a mob boss. And Preston says, well, he could be. We finally see him like he is a mob boss, and he's a killer, cold-blooded killer, just straight up was torturing someone like it was nothing. Well, two people who didn't know he existed were waiting for him, you know, in the living room, in the kitchen, and he just kills them in front of them like it's nothing. And Braden added that little arm stretch, like, oh, like he just got done exercising, like that was a handful. Like it just added so much. Like again, I just love when actors do something that wasn't originally intended, but it works so well. It just works amazing, amazingly. And Braden was doing that a lot throughout the film, just adding these little things that I didn't think of, and it just that's a bunny. That is what gives the bunny personality. Like it's more than just the lines. Like this way, it's just the way he walks, the way he approaches them, the way he looks at them, the way he turns his head to them. It just look at the way he moves his arms. It's just it feels it feels like this character was never written. This is a character that exists. This is a terrifying figure. This is someone that you cannot say no to. And that was the intention. Like the bunny was someone you could not escape from. If you did try, you would end up like the whimpering detective. And that really and that was another reason why I wanted to include the whimpering detective. Like the bunny says, he was an associate that failed him in many ways, and when it comes to failure, when it comes to betraying him, he does not take that lightly. He will plan. He will ponder on what to do, and like the most brutal way to do it, the most painful way to do it, and he will do it to you without mercy. He will show no love, no humanity. And that's another thing about Brayden's performance. It feels very narcissistic. It feels like it lacks what you would expect a person to have. Not a straight up psychopath or sociopath, just someone who lives inside his head. He knows nothing but what he wants. Like he pretends that he knows Mateo and Preston, that he can sympathize with them and that he will help them, but really he's using them to help himself, to get rid of this thing that is trying to open this chest around his heart. Dale is that thing. And that's what the bunny really sees people as. He sees them as things that he can manipulate, things that he can use, and that is where a lot of this anger comes from. And I feel Brayden really understood that. It's just the way he's basically shouting at these guys, but just he's very imposing. And Brayden is average height. He's not really the tallest guy ever, but he's still tall, and he still feels like a dangerous figure when he's standing next to Howard, who plays Detective Logue. Howard, very tall guy, but Brayden just he still feels like the boss. He still feels like this guy who you cannot trust. And again, it's just the delivery. It's just this very dark side of him that just feels so real. And I this was the scene. Every scene with the bunny was really fun to write. Just these monologues, and that piano, that not piano, the cello that I used. As I was writing the film, and after I finished writing it, I was just listening to a bunch of art pieces, a bunch of music stuff that could really get me in the mindset, that could really help me figure out how this film is gonna sound, or the how the bunny was supposed to be like. And I ended up finding this piece by Amy Norris, and it sounded so perfect. And again, like the opening, I wanted it to be atmospheric, and I wanted it to feel dark, like someone was using it to hide in the shadows. And it was perfect. It worked so well for the bunny, and it worked so well for the tone of the film. And it feels like the end. Like when the bunny says, "Will you proceed with this task, or will you walk away?" There is there's no walking away. That's why I wanted this moment right here. This moment was actually a rewrite, but it's just this moment of Mateo looking at the ditch, where it's implied that they hid the body parts from the whimpering detective. He's just looking at it like he just did that. There is no walking away. He can't rectify this. He doesn't have a time machine, and now he is stuck here. He wants to find a way out, but it's just not possible. He's now in the game, and once you're in the game, the only way to get out is to die while still being in the game. And that was very powerful. And that's a thing from Better Call Saul that I accidentally took from Better Call Saul, because at this point I hadn't watched the full show yet. So again, I will explain later on another moment that was accidentally taken from Better Call Saul. But I take the credit because it was before I watched Better Call Saul, or before the final season. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Still a great show. I'll I'll gush about it later on, but yeah, this scene, it was a practical set. Uh, it looks good. It looks good from these angles. When we don't see um, the wall next to him, it looks good. Like I like the La La Land poster, the High School Musical poster. I like his desk. I like his books. It just looks good, and oh, I just love this moment too. Oh yes, the way it dissolves. The dissolving transition is such a simple transition, but it can do so much. I just love the way we just slowly go to the desert and then the music fades out and then we just hear these birds and then we see this coverage of this place and yeah, it just feels natural. It feels like we're in a new setting, obviously, but it feels like okay, now something big is about to happen. Like we just saw this slow scene, and now we're starting with some like we don't know where the scene is heading. We don't know what's gonna happen, and when we do get to that moment, it's uh it's very tragic. You know, like I said, the monologues were very they were some of my favorite things when I was writing it, and just this moment of him um, explaining the significance of art and how special it is. I kept cutting a lot to Cedric because of ADR issues, but also because I love his reactions. Like I remember telling him, every time the bunny like keeps going on, especially when he starts. Like I told Cedric, just roll your eyes, turn your head, just look like, oh my god, he's starting this all over again. Like I want Cedric to be annoyed, but then he starts getting hooked as he goes on. Like maybe he has a point. I don't understand it, but you know maybe I will grow to understand it. Maybe I am destined for greatness. And that kind of reaction, that kind of delivery when he says, "Yeah, maybe," like there's some hope to that, but of course, it's only something that he's telling himself. It's not reality because the bunny this isn't he's not improvising here. The bunny has already planned to end him, and he's been planning this for a long time. I mean, he's had his eyes on Mateo and Preston for quite a while. He knew they were the people he wanted for this job, so Scott was always meant to die. And even though Scott has been the Bunny's right hand man, he's the Robin to his Batman. The Bunny again, he has no humanity, and he really does not care. Like he is willing to do anything, willing to hurt anyone just to succeed. The bunny is greedy, not for money, but for power. And that's a lot of things that villains have in common. It's just like a lot of villains they may try to act like they don't want the power. And some villains, they embrace the fact that they do want the power. And the bunny is a mix of both. He's always talking about gaining what he wants and how he has the ability to control, but he hides it under this facade that he is just a guy trying to make things better. He's trying to help, but obviously you can tell that he's lying through his teeth, but he's also fooling even himself. He's fooling himself that he has good intentions, but he is just a person with no morality, no empathy, nothing. And just this scene, like I I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I love the way Braden goes up to pick up the crowbar and bam, he hits him. And I that was that shot of the crows flying. Just crows were they just happened to be in the sky, just freaking out while we were shooting. And one of our producers, my film teacher, Mr. Barto, just told us, okay, tell Carson and get a shot of the crows, get a shot of the crows. And we ended up getting a shot of the crows, and he told us why. and we ended up using him in the edit, and it just worked so well. It's like it added so much, like him using the crowbar, in an ironic way, hitting him, the crows freaking out, like the crows are reacting to this death, this 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 demonstration of pure evil, someone that only knows brutality, someone that only knows anger. And that is why he just keeps going on and on and on and on. And I know there were a lot of laughs when we were watching this film at the premiere, but it was just it was just something I wanted to show. Like, you see Braden go faster and faster and faster. Like, I remember we were shooting it, and Braden at first, he was going very in very normal pace, and I told him faster, more angry, go 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 go, and he just went on and on, and this scene, it was supposed to be shot differently. It was supposed to happen in a very different way, but we were running out of time, and we were shooting, and well, Logan and Luke Jones, they were shooting another film, and I one of the directors of that film, I won't say who, but they said some things that really got to me, and you know they they I was really hurt. So as much as I didn't want to do it, I wanted to rush this scene, and so I ended up on the set, like ended up talking to my editor Howard, who also plays Detective Logue. Like, okay, how can we save this scene in the edit? And that's when we came up with the idea of basically cutting from Cedric to Logan beating him, like showing the passage of time, and the camera like moving in on Mateo, and then him screaming, like having this silent moment of the bunny saying, "What are you willing to do?" And then hearing the beating, and then seeing the crowbar go up and down, and then the bunny grabbing it, and then revealing that Mateo is there. And I remember watching, like, once we edited this scene and we watched it in its full. It was just, it worked out so well. Like, it just felt very different from what you would expect, and it just showed this progression, and it didn't feel rushed, and it didn't feel like it dragged on. It felt natural, and that is really the beauty of movie editing. It's like you can do anything, and you can save scenes in the edit just like that. And I was really proud of the way that scene came out, and the shots that we did. Carson is just such he is an artistic person. He has this mind that I'm quite jealous of. Like, he is just someone that, if he has an idea, it's a really good idea. If he has a problem, if he has some criticisms for you, that they'll be good. Like, if I wasn't doing something right, or if he didn't like something that we were doing, he would tell me, and I'm like, okay, okay, so let's improve this, and we would improve it. And that's why I really respect him so much. As I respect him so much as my DP. And it's just so many shots in this film, so they were complimented by pretty much everyone. And I always have to give the credit to Carson. Like, yeah, I came out with a lot of these shots, but Carson was the one who executed them. Carson was the one who really created the visual language of the film. And it's just an example of that. Like, that scene of them in the desert, it wasn't what I envisioned, like many of the things in this film, but it is something that I am absolutely proud of. And I'm glad that it didn't turn out being shit. It is just straight up something that is, just, uh, it's just shocking. It's just shocking that a guy my age was able to pull that off. And this is the last time we see the bedroom set, and it looks so good when we don't cut to Mateo. It's just the background of all those pictures. I don't know. my bedroom is terribly decorated because I do not know how to decorate. I suck at it. So I was telling people like, you like help me out, guys. Like you guys have like really cool looking bedrooms. Like every house I go to, people always have these amazing bedrooms, and I'm like, I'm jealous, and I don't know. I guess they blanked out when we were decorating the walls. So we kind of just give up and put like whatever pictures we had of people and put these stupid pictures of Spider-Man. And I'm not proud of it. Some things in this film, they were suggested because they thought, oh, this would be funny, right? Because I wanted to make people happy. I wanted to make people feel like, yeah, I can be a funny guy. It's just this need for wanting to fit in, for wanting to be liked by people was really my downfall. And really, a lot of the things I hate about this film are things that, I just felt like I wanted to do to satisfy people, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do. So if there was something I could change, was like ignore what people were saying, you're telling me what to do just because it was funny. It should have been something that I wanted to do. And it's it's like this scene, like this montage. I love this montage. Like this montage is exactly what I wanted it to be. It's just showing Mateo and Preston with the bunny. you know they're getting ready to do this thing, to execute this plan that is going to permanently change them, who that is going to affect their lives in a negative manner. And then we keep cutting to these people who are also changing their lives. I mean, these drug addicts, these high schoolers that drugs drugs addiction. It's something that is very difficult to battle. It's a very difficult battle. That's what I'm trying to say. And from this moment on, these people will never be the same. Mateo and Preston will not be the same, but they are being encouraged. They are being pushed by these people who think they have succeeded in their lives by causing bad. Like we see Dale smiling at Sophia's character. Like she's taking this drug. She is in her own dream world, and he's happy about it. He is killing these kids' souls, and he is content. That is his version of a happy life. And the bunny is using these kids to continue having this power, to continue having this this influence, to be this figure that should be feared. And I feel like it's a very dark message. Maybe some people may not have gotten it, but that really was the purpose of this montage. It's not just here to show a montage just because it's a film like this should have a montage, but just to show these characters embarking on their journey to change, and showing these people that have already changed and they can never go back to the way things were. We see the bunny, a changed man. I see Dale, a changed man now. He just reached the end of his life, content, and now we see Mateo, who is about to start his journey. And he closes his eyes, not even wanting to think about that. And we cut to black, and then we begin on this next act. It's just that cut to black, that ending, and then starting something terrible. This third act of the film, where a lot of things go down. It's it's very powerful. To me, it's very powerful. Um, I almost feel it as a teaser in a way. Like we have gotten to know these characters. We know what they want, what they need, what they're about to do. Then we see them starting this journey, and now everything that they know everything that has been led up to this, everything is going to be revealed. Everything is going to unfold in the worst ways imaginable. And yeah, like we at this point we already reached an hour into the film, and we are just barely going to get to our first action sequence. And a lot of criticism that I got was that the film waited too long to show the first action sequence. And I'm always open to criticism, but that was something that I generally did not take seriously, because I always knew that I wanted this film to be about characters. And every film that I make in the future is going to be about characters. To me, characters matter so much. You could have a really terrible film, but if the characters are good, like, shit, it's worth watching. You can have a really good plot, like, oh my god, this plot is so engaging. But if I don't care about the characters, then I'm sorry. It's just, I'm not gonna be that interested. And yeah, it's like, the plot of this film could be bad by some people's standards, but I wanted to show these people struggling with their morality, and I wanted to spend a large portion of the film focused on these main characters. And then finally, when they are ready, or when it feels like they're ready, that's when they have to face these obstacles, almost like getting to a video game boss. That's why we have two action sequences back to back. It's like, okay, they just got done fighting this guy, then they go into the hallway, and everything just goes to shit. Now they're getting like full on black eyes. They have blood dripping down from their heads. It's absolute insanity. um it was just very, very important to me to save the action stuff for later. Like, once I realized that I was well over 60 pages and we were just barely getting to the action stuff, I just didn't care. I'm like, this works. This is what I want. This is the type of film that this is. And you know, I consider it character realism, because I want these characters to feel real. Like, these are people that you would be able to find in real life. These are the people that you would know and talk about, and that matters most over um, other types of realism, like physics, right? Um, so many things during this film, like, people were laughing at me, or they were criticizing me, because, like, Julian, that is actually not very realistic. In real life, this would happen and that would happen. It's like, uh I don't care, like, it looks cool on camera. Like, I just care about these characters feeling real, like these characters having hearts, or sometimes lacking hearts, like the bunny. And in this moment right here, this is the kind of stuff that I wanted. Mateo is scared, and Preston is there to comfort him. Like, these are friends. He has a love for him that is a love he's never had for anybody else. And people have told me their theories about them being gay, and let me just tell you, they're true. I always viewed their friendship as more of a romance. And Mateo is, there was originally a deleted scene that confirmed that he's gay, but I ended up cutting it, because as a director, as much as you want to keep something in, you have to kill your darlings. And but, I'm glad the shot didn't get cut of him turning around. It just feels very, very trailer like, but it just feels very definitive. Like, I am going to do this. Like, my friend, he needs me, and I'm going to help him. He's here for me, and I'm here for him. And it just felt so right. I really loved getting that shot. I'm not sure if any of the actors remember us getting it, but I remember it. It was just a great moment. DJ and Sophia, they really took um, what I said about them just acting all goofy, like they don't know where they're at, and just walking around the school. They just took all these drugs. Like, they took what I said and just like really, really acting like goofballs. Like I remember editing this scene and watching it, and like I was expecting to cringe, but instead I was just like I was having a good time. Like the they really took that shit to the next level. Okay, not the next level, but it's just hilarious. Like the ways he just like a million things to that idiot. Like it's just some really good stuff. It's really good stuff. This scene in the bathroom. Now this was one of my most anticipated scenes to shoot. I was very excited to shoot this because this argument was very definitive. Um, Originally, when Logue drops them off at the school, there was a conversation that they had, and it was basically the same conversation they end up having later on in the vending machine. So we ended up cutting that out. We did shoot it, but we ended up cutting it out, and it's it, it doesn't seem like something was cut out. It felt very natural. Again, something that had to be taken off later in the edit. Something that saved the scene, because I ended up noticing that they have this conversation of Mateo being scared and Preston being like, okay, no, dude, just get over it. Let's do this. Once they're in the school, once they're on their own, then they go to the vending machine. Mateo's trying to stall in a way, and Preston there finally like he opens his heart to him, and Mateo listens to him, and now it seems like they're on the same page. They're really going to win. They have this love for each other, and as corny as it sounds, it's gonna get them through this very terrible thing, this very terrible mission. And then Mateo once again, his overthinking gets the better of him, and he ends up pussing out, and then they end up having this argument. Like at this point, Preston reaches his turning point. Like, no, you will do this. I am done with this. We already went over this over and over and over again. Like, it started out on a bad note, goes up to a good note, like the best note ever, and then boom, it all comes crashing down, like in real life, like the things that I was going through at the time, and I feel like other people could relate to. That's where the character realism comes from. So, just showing this argument and just showing that there is some resentment building up on both of each other's parts, and just that delivery of we would of the and that is the fucking plan. Like I remember I told Logan that was the most important line, and I wanted him to shout it like he meant it. This anger that he's been building up. He's been trying to be the good friend, a real friend, but he's been trying to reason with them, and then finally he just snaps. I am done talking to this guy. I am done trying to convince him he will do this. Like there is no going back. We're in this, and we are going to accomplish this goal. Like we're gonna get what we want. And it's just that silence of them. Like once he says that is the fucking plan, it's just the way um Mateo backs away. It was something again improvised by our actor Preston Poutre, and it just worked so well. Like I love their their angry expressions, the way they look at each other, and then boom, the toilet, and then Chase comes out, and that's when the fight scene starts. And this fight scene, it was disgusting. I mean, even like we had to clean the bathroom. Like obviously, we weren't going to shoot in a disgusting ass bathroom because this is a boys' bathroom in a public school. So it was a very unpleasant experience. Even after it was clean, it was just still disgusting. I remember us getting a bunch, like a bunch of takes of him, of Chase slamming Preston's head on the toilet seat. Preston ended up hating me after that. I'm joking. Obviously, he doesn't actually hate me, but he was just like, Julian, I did this for you. Like, you owe me. It's like, yeah, I do. It's like I had them do all these things in this disgusting space, but just the scene just ended up turning out really good. Like I love this scene turned out. I feel like I've been saying this for a bunch of scenes, which is really weird because I really viewed this movie in a negative light. before I saw it like put together, before the music, before all the final touches. Like I was just really dissatisfied. But given what I had, given the complications, all the conflicts that we have for this film, and our $2 budget, it's just something that you wouldn't expect people like us to make, but we did it, and we succeeded, and that is a really amazing thing. And just the way we all did it. I wasn't the greatest director, but I did try. And these guys, they're trying, and they are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, Mateo doesn't say anything in this short little moment right here, but you see you see all the words written on his face. You see this disgust. You see him wincing. You see him trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Why is he doing this? What has led to this moment? That's why he asked those questions at the beginning of the film through his voiceover. Like, can we take it all back and start over? And it's just not possible. I mean, they just beat the living shit out of this guy. So there is no going back. But is there a chance to like regain some of their humanity, to keep their morals intact? Like that is the question that is asked constantly. That is why after this fight they have this conversation about like, okay, what are we going to do when we encounter the other guys? Like, are we gonna kill them? No, or are we just gonna hurt them, incapacitate them? Like Dale is the only person we need to kill, but we should not lose all of ourselves. We have to keep some of us in here. Like we have to um, keep this side of us that makes us human. We cannot turn out like the bunny. But Preston, we see and we hear it. Like the way Logan says these lines, like we hear this conflict, like this side of him that doesn't care if he ends up like the bunny. Like if this is the natural progression, then so be it. Like he is willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish his goals. And Mateo, he knows what he wants. He wants something good for his life. He wants to succeed. And yeah, he's been scared to do so in the past, but this is not the way he wants to do it. Like this fear is more about him losing himself rather than losing something great that he could have, and great in quotes, because what he is going to obtain after this is not great. It is far from it. It is just an illusion, an idea of what great is, but it's this delusion that Preston believes is a gift, but Mateo knows it's far from it. And just that concept, that message, is something that I was also very afraid of people misunderstanding, because the way this film ends, the way we show these characters go through this life journey, I was afraid that people would see this as Preston's in the right and Mateo's in the wrong. But really, Mateo is in the right. It's just that sometimes things don't go out the way you expect them. uh, that is really given focus in the ending. Right now, it's just them struggling with this choice, and they just got done fighting this guy. They're questioning what they're about to do, and then boom, immediately, just like that, they have to take care of this other guy, and like he's about to snitch on them, and boom, we get to this oneer, and again, another scene that I was really looking forward to shooting. It ended up being one of the most exhausting shoots that I've ever done. Everyone in the cast, everyone in the crew was just tired when when we were done shooting it. Like it came to the point where like when we finished it, we weren't like, "Oh, that was awesome! Yeah, we did it." It was more like, "Oh, thank God, we're done." But I mean, putting it together, like you can't tell it has cuts in there. Like you obviously for filmmakers, experienced filmmakers, like okay, when we whip the camera, that is when they cut. But you know, for people that aren't really knowledgeable on film, like on different film techniques, like you wouldn't know that we cut. And I made sure I went frame by frame, and it's like, okay, this is like we were able to hide the cuts really well. And the choreography was done by Braden. Again, our bunny, he's really passionate about choreography for fight scenes. And in the bloopers, you can see like our moments of rehearsal and just practicing for this scene, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work trying to memorize the timing, trying to memorize all the punches, all the movements, and the way the camera would move around. Like Carson trying to squeeze through, having to change the blocking to allow for the camera and myself to go through. It's like all these technical things that were just really difficult, but it turned out to be just amazing. I mean, just I always wanted to shoot in this hallway, like since my seventh grade year of high school, not high school, I mean middle school. Um, so when I got the chance to do it, and in a oneer, inspired by Daredevil, it's just I was really happy with it. And once I put the scene together, I was happy with the result. Even though I did have to take out one sequence from this oneer, and that was because one of our actors got injured during a rehearsal, and I got a lot of complaints from that. Um, I felt bad that the actor got injured, and I wanted to keep the actor safe. And but even the actor himself got mad at me for not using the take where he got hurt, even though we weren't shooting, we were just rehearsing. And I really got a lot of shit from people for having him do all of that hard work, having him nearly get paralyzed, and just not use him to the fullest. But even though I got a lot of hate, I got a lot of backlash from people on set that really, it really soured my relationships with a lot of the crew members. But I knew in the end that I was doing it to keep this person safe. And if that meant taking out something that I really wanted to do, like I felt like that could have been a really standout moment of the film. Like it doesn't matter. Like this, this is how it should be. Film, yes, you can do a great deal of things with film. The thing about having a visual medium is you can experiment a lot, but if sometimes you have to remove things to make people comfortable, to make people feel like this is a safe space, then you should do it. And that is what I did. So even though I had to take that moment out, and even though I had to um, just deal with the backlash, I ended up at the end of the day, I ended up not caring because I was happy with the way the scene turned out, and I was happy with everyone's work on it, and just eh, the months that it took to complete that scene, they were worth it, and I was satisfied. I was satisfied, and I was a happy man. So what can I say? And now we get to this moment, like from this scene to the end. I am i am proud, the proudest I've ever been in my life. That's a lie. But again, Carson, fantastic DP. It's just this, it's just the lighting. I love the lighting of this scene. I love the shadows around Alan's face. I love how he's in the middle. I love the way Logan and Preston are standing next to him, and this shot right here is just of them looking at him. It's just some great stuff, and then Preston delivering that line of "with a fucking grin on your face." Like, come on, there's got to be something. It's like there's just so much emotion. There's so much significance in the lines, the shot, the lighting. There's just this darkness and this feeling of of anticipation. Like now everything is being revealed. Who is Dale? Why does the bunny care about him so much? What has he been hiding? And this is the moment. And originally, like, yeah, it felt like a lot of exposition, but it just feels like it just feels it feels perfect because I knew Dale wasn't supposed to be like the bunny. He wasn't supposed to be this guy lurking in the shadows. He wasn't supposed to be this guy fighting or doing these crazy things. He was just supposed to be a guy um, living with his life, just trying to find um, a way to be content with what he has done. And this is him nearing the end of his life. Like that montage, again, it shows him reaching that point, reaching that peak. So once he reaches it, he is done. He is waiting in that chair for Mateo and Preston to come in there and finally kill him. He's not going to do it himself. He is going to let the bunny kill him, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, he did what he did. He made himself get the respect that he always wanted. He was able to get on the top, take over take over what the bunny once had, and even though it's not a perfect life, it is something that he is quite happy with. He lived and he liked it. And again, inspired by Walter White. But the characters are obviously very different. But it's that idea of finally doing something, and once you get it, that's really it. It's the best, and maybe life won't get better. And after that, for some it does, for some it doesn't. But Dale doesn't care, so he just accepts it, and having little this little black and white sequence, like, yeah, we went with the stereotypical um, student film black and white sequence that's supposed to be very, just very symbolic. Like I knew what that people were gonna view it as that, but to me, it just felt like I just had to include it in. Like this is the past. That's why it has this kind of glow to it, and that's why it's in the. I wanted to make it very stylistic. Like they're in pure darkness. We shot this in our school's auditorium on the stage, and we only had a bright spotlight on the characters, and I just loved shooting all those individual shots of the just having the camera move around and then showing the bunny put on the mask, kill this guy, and Dale leaving the bunny, taking the monarch with him. Like we saw how he embarked on his journey, and this is the end of it, and that is where the parallel comes for Mateo and Preston. Like they they are in conflict with each other, like the bunny and Dale were, and now we see them deciding what they're going to do. This is the moment where they have to choose. Like all of us in our lives, there comes a point where we have to make these choices that we're not sure if we want to make, but if we have to, we will. And Dale chose what to do. He chose how his life was going to end. And if the bunny ended up winning, but he ended up dying happy, then it's whatever. Like, as long as he felt content, that is what mattered to him. And it's not supposed to be inspiring because there's tragedy in that, there's a darkness in that. It's almost like they assisted Dale's suicide. So there's nothing great about that. Dale is a villain, like the bunny, like Preston, but that is the way he wants it to be. And there's no other way he would have it. Mateo is the only one here with a strong sense of morality. Like the bunny and Dale made a mistake. Mateo is stronger than what he seems. He is terrified. He is someone who overthinks, is controlled by fear. But in this moment, he's not going to let his fear for the bunny make him do something he doesn't want to do. He is going to fight against it. He is not going to kill him. He knows that he will end up like Dale and the bunny if he makes that choice, if he takes that step forward. But no, he knows the kind of person that he is. He knows right from wrong, and he is not, absolutely not going to turn out into this monster. He is not going to lose himself. And that is very powerful to me. It's just, it's very conflicting. In my life, I've had many instances where, I'm faced with this choice. Like, I can get what I want, but what does that mean for me? How am I going to change? Will I turn to something bad, or am I going to continue to be good? And Mateo chooses good because he knows where his priorities lie. He knows what he wants, but he knows that there is a line and he's not going to cross it. But Preston, on the other hand, he does not care, just like Dale doesn't care. So as time runs out, he kills him. Then and there, and that's it. Like once he does it, the reason why we hear that muffled voice is because Preston is taking this moment to take in what he just did. Again, there's no way to go back in time. There's no way to change things. He did it, and that is it.
Why'd you want to walk away, Mateo? What, did you think the bunny was just going to give you a pass? Say everything's all right? Oh, don't worry about it. It's okay. Did you really think that? Why were you holding on to that false hope? Why? Because I am not a sociopath. I am not you.
This moment right here is just, it's just so satisfying to watch. Just this dialogue, just being delivered by these amazing actors. We see this rage, we hear this rage, this resentment, this disappointment. Mateo just lost his friend. Like the moment he inserted that knife into Dale's heart, there was no Preston anymore. Even though he knows it, he doesn't want to accept it. That little reaction shot of him closing his eyes, almost shaking his head, like, no, 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 this isn't true. This isn't true. But it is true. Preston just keeps going on, trying to justify his actions. Money is money, respect is respect. Like, he is trying to make Mateo feel bad by calling him out for dismissing great opportunities, but that is just excuse after excuse after excuse. There is never a good reason to kill anyone. So maybe, just maybe, Preston is a monster. So that's why he asked him, did he enjoy killing him?
I did.
And Preston says he did.
New.
That moment of him saying it's something new, that shows the kind of person that he is. He wants to experience new things. He wants to experience what he never thought he would be able to experience. Like all these things that he's seen other people obtain throughout life. Like he wants it. And that is another thing that represents me as a person. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm going to kill someone. I feel like when I explain that, I feel like people are going to look at me weird. But I mean, like, you see these people just live these lives being unafraid, being just these great figures, and you want it. You want that for you so bad. It's just like, being accepted, being like everybody else, this want, this need to fit in. And as long as it feels new, everything is okay. But in reality, you are betraying yourself. You are betraying the core aspect of your humanity, and you are bearing your heart, or more like you are pulling it out of your chest and you are stepping on it. But not only that, but you are destroying, you are stepping on the hearts of those who love and care about you. The moment you betray yourself, you betray everyone else. And that is why Mateo, in this moment, is the saddest, the most heartbroken he's ever been. He just lost the person that he loves the most, that he's always going to love, but he cannot live like this any longer. He has to take a step. So in this moment, I directed Preston to deliver that line, that final line, and the whole film, like a superhero. Like this is his superhero moment. I don't fear shit anymore. Like I just wanted that moment to stand out. Like if these are Mateo's last words, they have to feel like they mean something. Like Mateo is going to win. This is his victory. He sets his foot down. No, I am not going to walk out of this building with that briefcase. I am not going to let the bunny win. I am not going to let you get turned into this freak, this controlling, terrifying, evil monster. That is not going to happen. So he punches him, and then this fight scene starts. Yes, it's another fight scene in the hallway, but this one carries such an emotional weight to it, and it feels very, to me, it's very emotional. And that single frame of Mateo getting his hand slashed, that took us quite a while to get as well, because we were trying to figure out all these practical ways that we can do it. And it's also very interesting because again, it feels like being on an actual film set where you're trying to pull out this practical effect and like work with the makeup people and the special effects people. And when we ended up getting the shot, we were all like, holy shit, that looked amazing. And then putting it in the film, is like that shot was only not even a second long. It was only a few frames, but it still looked good. It's still something I'm very proud of. I just wanted to point that out because I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Again, huge props to the makeup people, the special effects people. Mr. Berto, Valentine Wright, and Luke Jones. Just they really excelled at pulling out that shot. And the choreography here, it's also like it took us a long time to get right, but it works so well. And the camera movement as well. Carson is such uh, a hardworking person, so just the way he was able to work with these actors, work with me, and I love the way the camera moves as Logan is hitting Mateo, and then him extending his arms and kneeing Logan in the face. Like, oh, it just looks so great. It looks amazing. And this moment, I knew the second I wrote, he strikes Mateo in the throat, and when I was shooting it, like it was very, it hurt me a lot, because yes, I believe that the good guys should always win, like in that scene from The Majestic, but sometimes things don't turn out the way you expect them, and I've said that before. And this montage, actually, this was not in the script. It was not something I discussed while we were shooting the film. No one knew this montage was coming until I showed the Scarlet Orchids crew the first, like, uh, the the second to final cut of the film, because this is something that came up last minute, because we did shoot Mateo getting his head slammed on the floor, but it just didn't look right, and it just felt like constant repetition of character getting hit and then screaming and like and just constantly showing the head getting slammed, and it didn't look good and it didn't sound all the best. Like it just didn't feel powerful. It didn't feel like we just lost this character. So then I got inspired by this scene from Babylon, that final montage, and I wanted to show the progression that these characters have gone through. They started out as good. I even got to include some of the deleted scenes. Got to show a little bit of Mateo's fruitiness, but just showing that they went from this, from these friends who loved each other, who supported each other, to these people that they don't even recognize anymore. They lost themselves. Mateo especially lost someone that he could see a future with. And now Preston is forced to take this life. He was fine with taking Dale's life, but now he was forced to do the same thing the bunny refused to do. With his own hands, with his bare fucking hands, he kills his friend. And I have something against, not against, I mean something for tragedies. I love tragedies. And I knew I wanted this to be, the film to have a tragic ending. And it just felt right. And it was very emotional to kill off Mateo. Even though I love the character, even though, I saw myself in him because I wrote him like me, it felt like the right choice. And it was such a turning point. And it really completed the ending, completed this arc. And it also shows that sometimes when you do decide to do the right thing, sometimes it's too late. That was something, that was an idea that actually came in during my second draft and every draft afterwards. Because I had gone through my first breakup, and that breakup really affected me, and I blamed myself for it. And the thing that what was said to me during that breakup, I could not stop thinking about it. And I thought, because I was ready to finally, like, step out of my comfort zone, do something I didn't think I would be able to do, something that I was scared to do. But, you know, right as I was about to take that step, I was broken up with, and um, I just, I felt terrible. Like the moment I finally knew what I was going to do, the moment that I finally took the step forward, it, it just wasn't the right time anymore. And that's why another reason why I wanted Mateo to bite the dust, because he finally became that hero. He finally became that person that he knew he was deep inside, but the timing was just not right. Dale was dead. The bunny won. Preston transformed himself into someone unrecognizable. He transformed himself into the bunny. And there is no beating the bunny. The bunny is not someone you can easily take down. And that's why he lost, because it it was just a little too late. A little too late. And sometimes that's something that we all learn as we grow up. We learn it in when we're teenagers, and we learn it in adulthood. I've seen people in my life go through the same things when they're in their 40s or 50s, and it's just something that you notice that you learn a lot from. And those lessons are very important. So I wanted to include a little message like that in the film, and I wanted that to be the theme of the whole thing. It's just this fear, and once you get over that fear, sometimes you just you end up losing. You don't always win, and that is the tragedy of it.
Don't mention it.
Never really got to discuss the music for the film either. Like some music, we got it from artlist art. io. But other stuff, it was composed by Alan Moctezuma and our jazz band teacher, Mr. Forbes. And just the music you hear in this scene and the music you hear when Lene takes the monarch or during the black and white sequence, it's made by Brian Forbes. And it's just this, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just weird because, I wrote an in-depth like explanation for how I wanted the music to be like for Mr. Forbes, but now it's just like I'm blanking out. But it just the tracks that he gave me, they sounded, very um shit. What's the word? They sounded very lighthearted. But once they were slowed down, once I heard them, you know, get to a dark heard them in a dark pitch, like in a slow pitch. That's what I mean. They sounded dark. They sounded it sounded like this jazz that represented the bunny quite well. I mean, we heard like the cello track that we use constantly, like that represents the bunny, but also this jazz, this boom boom, like this just these beats, these notes that we hear constantly, like the slow ones, and then the ones that really pop out like that. It's like those really make you feel like this is the bunny's world. This is a world where he controls you. He is the puppeteer, and he is someone that you cannot bargain with,
You did jack.
someone that should not be reckoned with.
Me and the only person
And
I've ever loved.
I really enjoyed this moment of
Why couldn't you just
Preston snapping at the bunny. This was also a rewrite. This entire scene was a reshoot and a rewrite because originally the scene that we initially shot, it had them sitting at the table throughout the whole scene. It was just them at the table throughout the whole scene with like 4 shots max, and it was really boring. And thank God we decided to reshoot it because we realized, oh shit, there's an out of focus shot here, like 2 out of focus shots. We cannot edit this. So we decided to reshoot it. And as we were scheduling, I was actually reading a lot of scripts. I don't know. I was just like, I was just getting into that script writing mood, right? So I took what I learned from these scripts and I reworked this scene, and I wrote out all of this blocking, the bunny standing up, going up to the fridge, and all these shots. Like I envisioned them, I pitched them to Carson, I explained what I wanted, I explained to Isaiah, where he was the gaffer for this scene. So just seeing it put together, I remember like the moment I finished editing this scene, I was just like, wow, like wow. The dialogue was something that I was quite proud of. And Carson's work, this single close up, the yellow light coming from the left side and then the blue light coming from the right side, it's like something you see in a lot of films, and it just looks so good. And it's just like this conflicting tone, and then Logan obstructed by darkness, and the way he says, um sorry, I got distracted. Like this is just like I'm really proud of this. Like this is my favorite scene in the film. And it's just this was one of the last scenes we shot, the second to last scene we shot actually. So I had already learned a lot. You I feel like the thing about this film is because it went on for so many months. Like originally it was supposed to be 4 months, a 4 month long shoot, but it ended up being way longer because I was stupid and I underestimated how difficult shooting a film like this would be in our conditions with our budget. Like I just wasn't thinking straight. And you're able to spot the scenes where that were shot first, not just because Preston's hair changes a lot, but because you're able to see this progression of us starting out as young filmmakers, and then getting to this scene right here where we see where you notice the lessons that we learned how to light better, we learned how to compose a shot better, we learn how to execute a plan. That's execute a plan, because before sometimes our plans were really shit and sometimes we didn't execute them the best, but this was something that was just a marvel. And again, Brian Forbes' music, it really elevates it, especially for the moment where the bunny um, pins the spins Scott's sketch on the fridge. It's just that boom, and then him tilting his head, and then just something slow, and he takes a seat, and yeah, like the shots by Carson like really help tell the story, and Braden's movements as well, and Logan's reactions. Like that is really why I love filmmaking. Like it's just the coverage that you can get. You can tell a story like not just with dialogue, with the shots that you can pull off, and and just the visual medium, and just you have this idea, and you can turn this idea that seems ridiculous and turn it into something carried by emotion. There is emotion in art. And that is one of the reasons why I made the bunny so obsessed with art. That's why I made him so philosophical in a way, because, you know, art really drives us. It really creates us. The reason why have evolved so much is because of art, what it has helped tell us. And this shot right here, I remember pitching it to Isaiah and Carson, and I remember when we got it. It took us a few takes, but when we got the shot, we got that dark background behind the bunny, and telling Braden that I wanted to interlock his fingers, and I wanted the camera to back out and then start pondering, and I wanted this shadow on the side and this warm light coming in. Like I wanted him to feel like the mob boss that you know he claims to be, this powerful force, this this figure that will never be forgotten. And just the final look, it looked exactly how I wanted it to be. It didn't matter that the camera wasn't in Ari Alexa. It didn't matter that we didn't have like a fucking anamorphic lens or something like that. It still looked exactly like how I envisioned it. And I'm proud of us. I'm proud of us as a team for being able to accomplish that. And showing this final black and white montage, like it felt like a better goodbye to Dale's character, and a conclusive end to this friendship that the Bunny and Dale had. And again, so many moments of us showing a close up of the bunny's eyes. His eyes tell a story, and then finally that final close up of his eyes before fading to black. It just felt like that was it. That was the end of this life, the end of this career. Or I mean, this more like this chapter, not the career, because he still has a long way to go. But but yeah, also showing the painting, it was also something that we kept hidden throughout the film, and then finally showing it. It's not the best painting ever. The bunny goes on about how art is this and art is that, but he's not really a great painter, but he has a story to tell. And the blood dripping, and then that blood turning into this purple bunny, representing the monarch and representing what the blood, like the people he's killed along the way, the friend that he had to kill, turn them into the person that he is today, turn them into this symbol, and him embracing it. More, not like accepting it, more like this is who I've always been, who I'm meant to be. And that is that. And that right there is the reason why um, Logan's character says those words at the end of this monologue. And the journal, I haven't mentioned the journal. Oh my god. The journal was another thing that came on and like was introduced in later drafts. There's a lot of differences between the first draft and every draft afterwards. But the journal, that journal right there was given by my girlfriend, and it was it's a very special it's a very special item that I have in my possession, and I wanted to include it there, and especially after seeing Gone Girl, like I love Amy's narration in that film and how she wrote in this little journal to frame Nick Dunn, like, and then seeing the Batman again and seeing Bruce Wayne writing his journal and hearing this narration, and just revealing that the things that Mateo was writing in his journal were actually the voiceovers we constantly heard throughout the film, and then the film ending with Preston now taking over. Mateo's dead, but his spirit lives through a little bit of Preston. But even in death, he's still defying him. That's why he's taking Mateo's words and turning them against him in this way and accepting that he is this monster. So when he takes the drug, he sees the bunny, but he also sees himself. Just the way Alan's music just takes over, and then we go to this moment of pure silence, just how I wanted it to be in the script. The bunny towering over him, but then leveling his position, and then this barrier between them, like a mirror, a two-way mirror. They're looking at each other. The bunny is Preston, and Preston is the bunny, and there's no escaping that. That is the tragedy. And then that ring out, and then the movie ends. That ending was another thing that I was really looking forward to shooting, and it was the last thing we shot. And originally, it was supposed to take place seconds, not seconds, moments after um, Preston leaves the bunny's house during their final conversation. So it was supposed to take place at night, but due to scheduling conflicts, we had to change it, and so we made it the next day. But it still turned out so well, and the end, like I got the ending across, like in a way that I wanted it to um, be portrayed, and it just felt so powerful. By the second we got to that final shot of him being almost terrified but accepting of this, ashamed but willing to continue this journey. We see this tear in his eyes. His face falls, but this is it. There is no way to go back. There is no time machine. And originally, there was supposed to be a conversation between Mateo and Preston about a time machine, but that was the scene that I mentioned that I had to cut. As much as I wanted to keep it in, I had to cut it because, for one, I wasn't really proud of it, and for another, it really messed with the pacing. It was really bad. Like, it just fucked with the pacing of the film. So again, as a director, you have to kill your darlings. You have to take out the things that you want. So I had to remove it, and I wrote that and shot that before I watched the series finale of Better Call Saul. So I did not know that they were gonna have a conversation about a time machine in that show. So when I watched it, I was like, "What the actual fuck?" Like, now people are gonna think I stole this, but no, no. It Better Call Saul copied me. Yeah, Vince Gilligan, Peter Gold, you copied me. I'm kidding. I really love those guys, and I really love Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Like, you can see the inspiration in this film, but yeah, it was just it was quite an experience making this. There were a lot of difficulties. There were a lot of moments where sometimes we didn't like each other that much, and there a lot of drama came from making this. A lot of people who weren't interested in filmmaking or weren't interested in working or collaborating with me or anybody for that matter, they had a problem with me and or other people, and just this whole thing came out of people started saying things that weren't true, and a lot of us just stopped being friends in general. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate their effort. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate the names shown in the credits. these people deserve to be recognized because they helped me create this world. They helped me tell this story, and I could not be happier that I was given the chance to direct a feature length film at 17 years old. And now I'm here, just telling the story. There's a lot of stories that I don't have the time to tell, but what I was able to tell, I hope people take that home with them and, just think about it. As a filmmaker, a lot of bad things are going to happen during your shoot, and, you can learn from them. It is never a reason to give up. I wanted to give up, but I was convinced to keep going, and I'm happy I did. And now I'm wondering where did the time go. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. And if you have seen the film, I really hope you enjoyed it. And, like, if you haven't told me what you thought about the film, go ahead and leave a comment. And yeah, once again, thank you. And this has been my commentary for the bunny. Goodbye.